Okay. Okay. All right. So now the count is 101, right? Will the component re-render again? Yes, everything will start, and this time the nums will be given a value of count which is like state is gonna remember it. So it's gonna be 101, 101. So it will get incremented. It will get incremented. So if we click on increment, that is getting incremented, right? ठीक है, that's fine. Now अभी क्या होगा? That is being incremented. Now let's say कि this function is running whenever I'm incrementing it. Yes, yes. And let's assume that this is like a very not optimized code. It takes like a very long time to run. Assuming, just an assumption, right? So in that case, should this not only run once we are changing value specific to it? जैसे मतलब increment कर रहे हैं, then only I need to see the change in this increment, right? Do I need to see the change over here if I toggle the theme? Should this function run? No, but if I click on this toggle theme, is the function still running? Right? So is this something that we should optimize? ठीक, the problem statement clear है, what we have to optimize. Initially क्या कर रहे थे, we were writing the function inside over here, that's why it was running every time. Now we are separated the function. ठीक है, so that's fine. That's fine. Now shall we move towards optimizing it with use memo? तो कैसे करते हैं use memo use? We call the hook. We call the hook, right? So let memoized add, right? And we'll call use memo, right? Use memo क्या क्या लेता है? What does use memo take? It takes a callback function. Takes a callback function, right? Let's say there's a callback function and it takes a dependency array, right? Now, what do we want to do in this callback function? We want to call this run my loop count, right? तो अभी हम क्या करेंगे? We'll call that run my loop with the count that we have, right? And what we'll do, we'll finally return from here. Make sense? We are getting some value return करेंगे, then only this callback will work, right? Do we have to update something maybe in UI? क्या करना है update? This thing, right? So let's update it with memoized add, right? Okay. Now, is everything running fine? Right? सारी चीजें जगह पे. But in dependency array, we have to put the only thing that will make this change. So we'll say कि whenever count is changed, I want that function to run, else I'll keep it as it is. So in that case, if I go on incrementing it, this function is running, that's fine, right? But if I click on toggle theme, is that particular function being called? Run my loop. नहीं, right? So now if I click on increment, that works, but if I click on toggle theme, that won't work. तो हमने क्या किया? We basically memoize this function now. For other states, we are not gonna call it, but for the states where we need the change to show on UI, we'll basically call it. In case I pass the theme over here, now what will happen? If I click on toggle theme, will that function run my loop? Right? So if I click on this toggle theme, this function will be called. For increment also, this will be called. Right? But let's say increment मतलब count हटा देंगे, then it will only run for theme. Right? So yeah, if I remove it, only for increment this will work, but toggle theme, it won't work. Right? So again, this is mostly used for the searching and all, right? Let's say you have to search for a specific case, then you can do it. Let's say you're sorting a huge data, so you can do that. You're filtering huge data and then sorting, so you can do that. Okay? Just like use effect counting, exactly. But why are we not using use effect over here? Use effect क्यों नहीं use कर रहे? Why are we using use memo? Because I mean the justification is there, that can be said as use effect is only there for side effects, right? Although there's a possibility that this will work, right? But it should be kept as side effect, right? मतलब यूज इफेक्ट अगर यहाँ पे यूज करेंगे तो वी आर काइंड ऑफ डूइंग ओवरकिल, मतलब कोई चीज जो कि आराम से हो सकता है उसके लिए बड़ी चीज क्यों लाने की जरूरत है। क्लियर? तो अभी आई होप यू गॉट द आइडिया कि हाउ यूज। इनिशियली क्या कर रहे थे हम लोग, फंक्शन इसमें रख रहे थे, राइट, इनसाइड योर कंपोनेंट, दैट्स व्हाई दिस फंक्शन वाज बीइंग क्रिएटेड अगेन एंड अगेन, दैट्स फाइन। देयर इज अनदर हुक फॉर दैट एक्चुअली, उसको फिक्स करने के लिए। तो अभी फॉर नाउ जस्ट क्विकली गो थ्रू द कोड वंस एंड लेट मी नो इफ देयर इज any issues with this, and then we can talk about one more book. Clear? Yeah. So guys, you have 4 minutes. Quickly replicate it and let me know if there's any problem anywhere. Right, done guys? Done? Any doubts with respect to this? कोई doubts है with respect to this? Like basically react.memo or use memo. And is use memo now clear? It use memo is inside a function. कहाँ है use memo? It's not inside a function, right? Use memo खुद एक like it's a hook जो कि खुद एक function, and it's gonna take two things, a callback function or independence. Okay, all right. So now we have to talk about a use callback करके hook. So yeah, let's discuss about that. But before that, let's just create callback. Yeah. Okay. So far, if we go for use memo, what was it? Memoizing? क्या memoize कर रहा था? Memoizes what? Data values. Okay. So let's say values. Values कैसे? It was basically holding function calls, and function calls were returning some values. So basically, it was holding value. What was React.memo doing? What was it memoizing? Entire component. Entire component, right? Finally, you will learn about something which is called use callback. Here, this will basically do this thing that we were trying usually, right? ये क्या करेगा? This will memorize functions, right? Now, again, mind you guys, there's a difference between component and functions. Almost they act similarly, but there's an inherent difference, right? Components are supposed to be visual, but functions can have operations in them, right? Visually, they won't be visible. They will mostly hold an operation, right? So shall we see how this works? Use callback, right? So we'll try implementing like whatever we have learned so far. So we'll start with applying React.memo, and uske upar we'll slowly like try thinking ki how use callback can come and play. Make sense? Make sense, right? So again, एक मिनट दूंगा. Think about a component wherein we can create a component which is gonna pass some data to child, and based on parent, child will get updated. Think of something quickly. If not, then we have our usual count. So tell me if count works. Counter चलेगा? Counter. ठीक है, चलो. ठीक है. So again, let count set count equals to use state. Let's start with 0, right? And let's return, and let's return a div. Let's attach it over here. So this will basically have our callback. Yeah. Right? I guess there's some error. I think we haven't exported it. Actually, we're not showing anything. All right. So now let's have a button. Right? What should this button do? What should this button do? Handle click. Handle click. Okay. Let's have an increment, and let's have a one click over here. Right? And let's do a handle click. Right? We'll have to see how we can memorize an entire function. So उसके लिए let's create a separate function, and let's have a handle click over here. Right? And इसमें we are gonna do that small thing. We are doing count plus 1. This works. This works. Now, I mean, we can show the count. ठीक, तो count भी दिखा देते हैं. Let's have a h2, and we can say count is, but yeah, child में what should we pass? The count. Count. I should start thinking of these examples. पहले ही चलो कोई नहीं. ठीक है, let's go and create a callback child dot j6. Let's keep everything small. Dot j6 and export const callback child. This is supposed to accept a number, right? अच्छा, number के साथ क्या करें? What should we do with the number? What should we do with the number? Fibonacci. Okay. Anything else? Make it square. Okay. I mean, UI may can we do something with it? UI में can we do something with it? चलो, never mind. We'll just do a console over here. ठीक, child में आके सिर्फ एक console करेंगे. So, but we'll have to return something. चलो, let's do one thing. Let's return a button, right? And we'll say child updates over here, right? And यहाँ पे we'll just simply console dot log, and we can say we rendered child, right? And yeah, we can do that. So we can have like h2, and we can do a small thing. We can pick the number, and we can do into what, like square of something, right? Yeah, take it. And we have to visit over here, and then we can import it. So let's import it. Let's import it and back child. Right, so this is there, and why the not a number? Why the not a number? Count, right? Count has to be passed. So वहाँ पे we have accepted as num, if I remember correctly. So here we should send it as count, right? And yeah, it's getting like square of it. So if I keep on increasing, this should get updated, right? If I refresh it again, if I increment it, this is getting updated. Now let's have like a separate state so that it will make sense if everything is getting re-rendered or not. So यहाँ पे अच्छा, यहाँ पे what can we have? Anything but toggle. Anything but toggle. What can we have over here? Random symbols less than 500. Okay, let's have a random, and let's say set random, right? And use state में क्या करते हैं? And what I want to do is if I click on this button, right? If I have a button and uske click पे, what I want to do, I want to show any random symbols like these, कुछ भी randomly. So how can I achieve that? Like let's say anything, right? Emoji, so I mean, in this system I won't be able to import it. Chakra se maybe you can do it, but if let's say just quickly करना है, so how can I do this? Like if I click here randomly, any this will be visible. How can I do that? Save in array. Okay, I'll do that. So let array equals to there you go, and like we can have this, we can have like, and then we can have hash, right? They have to be string. Yeah. Okay, but think about the logic. Think about the logic part. Yes. Man dot random. नहीं, चलो ठीक है. Let's have a button over here, right? Uh, let's have a button over here. Button, and I can say random, and यहाँ पे I can generate that random. So let's say random में यहाँ पे I should be showing it. So how can I do that? Actually, can I do generate a random index? Yes, we can start with 0, right? And over here I can do like array, and इसमें random we can say, right? And if I like click on this button on click, what I want to do, I want to set random, but randomly. So how many elements do we have over here? 3, 3, 6. So random number between 0 and 6. How can we generate that? Random number between 0 and 6 से generate करेंगे. I mean mat.random, yes, but it's gonna give you values in integer. Guys, अच्छा चलो ब्राउजर पे चेक करके बताओ, इंटरनेट पे. mat.random to string, no, won't work. Modulus 6. But what about the point 0.1, 0.2 इस तरीके से? Okay, Iqbal is almost correct. So what we can do is we can do math dot random, and like this will generate like a random number. We can multiply it by one greater number that we need, right? So we'll need 6 because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 of those will be there, है ना? And we'll have to kind of put it in floor, right? So yeah, and we can pick it as mat.flow. Okay, let's see. So if I click on this, yeah, so we are generating randomly a specific or any specific thing, right? Okay. So now, whenever I click on this random, right, is the child getting random? I think there's some issue because it is taking multiple clicks, right? Let's make it 7. Let's increment the numbers. Okay, this should not work. Then 6. Let's say 5. Okay, chalo, ठीक है, this works. Alright. So now if I increment count, right? Count के increment पे child is getting updated. That makes sense. But if like change the random, should the child get re-rendered? If I change the random, it's not related. It's not related to child, right? Child pages से related नहीं है. Then why am I re-rendering it? How can I fix this? If I update random, why am I re-rendering child? How can I fix that? Guys, use memo. Okay. Are we trying to prevent a re-render of a specific value or of an entire component? What are we trying to? Entire component, right? We are trying to prevent like re-render of child component. In that case, should we go with use memo or react.memo? React.memo. So how will we refactor it? We'll just take this entire set. We'll go and write react.memo, and in here, in this, we'll pass it. Right now, the only relation it has with parent is with respect to number, right? So now in this case, if I react is not defined, okay, let's define it. import React from React. All right. So now in this case, if I update this random, the child won't get updated, right? It will only get updated with the increment. Okay. Now let's say where's the callback? Yeah. Let's say what I want to do is I want to just change this handle count. How can we change it? Let's say again, handle count may, let's say if I go and write console.log, let's say we can say select or something, right? So if I click over here, we are re-rendering the child. Okay, fine. I actually was thinking कि yeah, like any idea कि any use case in which we might need to optimize this function, like इसमें optimization लगाने की कोई use case जिसमें जरूरत पड़ेगी. Think about it. Hmm, let's say if I refresh it, right? If I change the random, we're already not showing the childs. So अच्छा चलो. uh, hmm, अच्छा चलो, let's pass this handle click to child also, right? And let's create a back and forth relation, then we'll see what we can do. So let's say handle click, and we are sending the handle click, right? The callback child may, if I go and over here, if I import handle click, right? And on click, I'm going handle, right? Okay. So in this case, if I try updating this, this is getting updated, right? And now if I do it, okay, this works, right? So basically, in callback, given that we have even applied react.memo, right? In callback, once we have passed a function over here, right? Child main. So now if I increment this in parent, this should work. This is like expected behavior. I mean, overall, क्या हुआ है, like in the code, it makes sense, right? Child में we just pass the function so that we can update this number from child itself. All right. So now this re-rendering is working. That makes sense, right? If I update it from child, this should work. That makes sense. That makes sense. The count should get increased. That makes sense. But now, once we have done that, if I click on random, is that making sense? Ki why random is triggering child element ka again re-rendering? Should that happen in usual case? No, it's happening only since we have started passing this function, right? Any idea why? Any idea why? So basically what happens when you like start passing function over here in like child components, these functions are like stored by references, right? In JS memory, the functions are stored by references. So in that case, what happens when React creates copies, right? In that copies, if you're using memoization, be it any case, you're using memo, use memo or callback even, उस केस में क्या होता है? It takes these two copies and it checks कि if anything is different. If there's a difference, in that case, re-render happens. That makes sense, right? let's say there's this original copy and then it creates a clone, right? Photocopy, and it checks key like what's the difference between original and photocopy, right? Photocopy. In case this difference comes out to be true, you re-render it. If it comes out to be false, there's no difference, so no re-renders, right? That is what happens. But since functions start getting stored by references, right? If you trigger them, na, they like relocate themselves to a certain another reference. Matlab reference can change for them. So in that case, they're not exact copy of each other. Due to the reference, a bit changes are there in between, right? So उस case में क्या होता है? Once you start passing functions which has a relation with child functions, the memoization will stop working in that particular case, right? So उस case में what we can do, we can use that use callback, right? Again, it's just like kind of a callback function, and uske basis pe we can say ki how we want to handle this function. So use callback can take entire function itself, right? Pura ka pura function it can take up. So what we can do, we can say, let's say we'll have to refactor it a bit. We can say const handle click, and we'll say ki you are arrow banana padega na isko. Let's make it as arrow function, right? So currently this function works as handle click by default, right? Abhi, what we'll do, we'll take this entire thing up and we'll use a use callback over it, right? It's gonna be acting exact similar to memo, right? It's gonna take a like callback function and then it's gonna take a dependency here. We'll pass the callback function, which is gonna be the function that we were using. And in dependency, should I pass count? Because whenever the count is changing, we want to do the change, right? So abhi you can update child over here and now it won't get re-render even though other states are changing, right? So use callback basically starts making sense when we are starting to create relation between parent and child components, and even though React memo we are using, the exact copy wala thing is not working. So what we say to React is that you can skip that small change. यहाँ पे change क्या आ रहा था? The minus change was the function, right? So if this function is used inside use callback, right? React क्या करेगा? React will skip this match. वो इस पर्टिकुलर मैच को स्किप कर देगा एंड इट विल से कि अप अंटिल योर डिपेंडेंसी एरे में जो भी नहीं है दैट इज नॉट गेटिंग अपडेटेड, आई विल कीप ऑन स्किपिंग दिस, बी इट रेफरेंस चाहे अलग हो, आई विल कीप ऑन स्किपिंग इट एंड यू कैन कीप ऑन अपडेटिंग विदाउट वरीइंग कि इट्स गोना री-रेंडर अगेन, right? So from child I can update, from here I can, but other states won't make anything happen. Does that make sense? Ki how you can use callback? You're gonna mostly use it with reference to React.memo only. But yeah, this is how you can optimize with using use callback. Right? So now does these three statement make sense? Ki use memo, it memoizes a specific value. You can't directly memoize entire function over it. What you do, you basically create a function separately out of the component and you call it. And you store that value. If that value changes, you change or you run the function again. What does React.memo memoizes? The entire component. If a component changes, it does that up until एक edge case जो होता है up until the relations are based on functions. And what's the issue with functions? It basically functions start getting stored as reference, right? And references tend to change, right? Hence triggering re-renders, right? So यहाँ पे re-renders. So to prevent it, we can use React.memo with use callback. Make sense? Make sense? Right? So again, use callback and use memo often look exact similar. They act exact similar, but the underlying difference you guys understand, right? And starting a 1 hour, we messed everything up. The reason, like we messed everything up to get an idea कि yeah, what we are doing wrong, right? Function के अंदर ही we were calling the function, which was something that use callback does, right? Not use memo. Clear? So overall, if someone asks you what the difference between use memo and use callback is, can you like create a small example like this and you can explain? Right over here, you can even use memo. You can have a theme भी रख सकते हो, and यहाँ पे you can create a small use memo example also. Clear? So any doubts with respect to this thing? Guys, any doubts? Right?